Hello and welcome to A Genteel Black Hole, the home of my bookish rambles. My name's Ali, and I read it so you don't have to. You probably should still actually read books though, please. But anyway. So as I'm recording this, it's nearing the end of July. I haven't managed to make any videos for months and months, which honestly has been a bit frustrating, a bit annoying. I did say when I started the channel that I wouldn't be making videos to any particular schedule, but I still hoped to make them slightly more regularly than I have. But it is what it is, as much as I'm loath to say that. It cannot be denied, it is what it is. Anyway, here I am. It's just past the halfway point of the year, so I thought I would have a mid-year breakdown. So I have a list of stats, superlatives, and also I thought I would go through my my TBR for the year that I made at the start of the year and see how much of it I've read so far. So I'll start with my general stats of the year so far. I have read 32 books. I have DNF'd a further 3. Of the ones that I finished, 20 were new to me and 12 were rereads. 20 were part of series and 12 were standalone. My most read authors were Terry Pratchett with 7, Ellis Peters with 5, and Robin Hobb with 2. And I read 10 authors who were new to me. Those new authors were Michael Gilbert, Susan Cooper, Ed Yong, Seiichi Matsumoto, Joel Morris, Judi Dench and Brendan O'Hay, Ellis Peters, Seiichi Yokomitsu, Hans Fallada, and John Berger. Genre breakdown so far this year, I've read 12 crime or espionage, 11 fantasy, 4 non-fiction, 3 general fiction, 1 sci-fi, which is very low for me, and 1 play. And the format breakdown, I've read 13 ebooks, 8 hardbacks, 8 paperbacks, 2 audiobooks, and 1 paperback from the library. My superlatives of the year, my favourite new-to-me books were Be Funny or Die by Joel Morris, which is an excellent non-fiction. It's all about comedy, about how it works, how it's structured, and what it means to our lives. It's written by Joel Morris, who is a comedy writer. He's worked on a lot of great British comedy, and I just found it an absolutely fascinating book, which really kind of helped me look at comedy in a different way, and I really appreciate how it treats comedy with the respect it deserves as an art form, I think. So if you have any interest in that at all, I highly recommend it. I had actually hoped to make a full video, little review sort of thing for it, but I ran out of energy, and now I read it too long ago to be able to do it fresh. So this will have to do. Another highlight of the year was Monk's Hood by Ellis Peters. I started reading the Cadfael books this year, and so far I'm absolutely loving them, which I was kind of surprised by, actually, because I guess just because I'm not at all religious, so the idea of a series of books about a Benedictine monk in the 12th century doesn't sound like super enticing to me, but I am an absolute sucker for a good murder mystery, and these are really lovely murder mysteries, but also they're just really beautifully written, the characters are really strong, and there's a kind of progression of the characters and the historical setting of the world, which makes it really satisfying on a book-to-book level, and also as a series. So I've been reading like one a month of those for the last 5 months. So far, Monk's Hood has been my favourite, but they've all been good. So definitely looking forward to reading more of those. Another highlight was Royal Assassin by Robin Hobb, but as you will see in a moment, my experience of the Farseer trilogy did not come to a happy end. Anyway, my favourite rereads of the year were A Month in the Country by J.L. Carr, Small Gods by Terry Pratchett, and Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy by John le Carré. My most disappointing new reads were Assassin's Quest by Robin Hobb. Now, having absolutely loved Assassin's Apprentice last year and Royal Assassin at the start of the year, I was bitterly disappointed by Assassin's Quest. It's markedly longer than the first two books, and unfortunately I gather that basically the entire rest of the Realm of the Elderlings series, all of the books are like about that length, like 800 pages or so. Yeah, I found it an absolute slog, really quite an ordeal to read. And being so long, it took me like 3 weeks to read it. That was 3 weeks that I could have read like 4 short fun books, and instead I slogged through Assassin's Quest and hated most of it, honestly. I think, despite having really loved the first 2 Farseer books, I hated Assassin's Quest so much. I don't know when or if I'll read any more Robin Hobb. Like, that just totally put the brakes on my enthusiasm completely. Just hated it. Really hated it. My other biggest disappointment was The Honjin Murders by Seishi Yokomizo. I think just because, without getting into spoilers, I just found that the mystery didn't have a satisfying conclusion for me. Maybe if it had been on screen instead, I might have found it more satisfying, because there's a kind of mechanical element to it, which, maybe seeing it done would make more sense to me, but reading it on the page just made me go, this seems awfully far-fetched. So, yeah, wasn't a fan of that one, unfortunately. But it was relatively short, at least. So, although it was disappointing, I didn't hate it like I hated Assassin's Quest. I hated Assassin's Quest. But anyway, moving on to my yearly TBR. First, we'll have a look at the series continuations. I've read Death in the Clouds by Agatha Christie, Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy by John le Carré there, those 2 Robin Hobb books, and The Tombs of Atuan by Ursula K. Le Guin, and the Discworld reread. I have got as far as Soul Music, which is book 16. Next up is Interesting Times. I'm aiming to read Hogfather at Christmas, because, Christmas, Hogswatch, it makes sense. So I'll skip a month somewhere, maybe read a non-Discworld Pratchett book for my monthly Pratchett fix. But yes, Discworld-wise, we have Interesting Times, Masquerade, Feet of Clay, and Hogfather still to go this year. The rereads list here, we have A Month in the Country by J.L. Carr and Chess by Stefan Zweig. Zweig? Stop saying Zweig. So, yeah, still plenty more rereads to get through. My likely new fiction reads, I've read The Pale Horse by Agatha Christie, which was okay. Bellwether by Connie Willis, which was okay. Hyperion by Dan Simmons is read because that was one of my DNFs. I got nearly halfway, I think, but it was starting to feel like a slog, and I think having already forced myself to get through Assassin's Quest when I was hating it so much, with this being the first in a series, I thought, there's no point subjecting myself to this if I'm disliking it as much as I was. So I quit it for my own peace of mind. But I did read In a Lonely Place by Dorothy B. Hughes, which was pretty good. It's very different from the film. I've enjoyed both. I don't know which I would say I prefer, to be honest, because they're that different. They're not really the same story at all. Anyway, moving on, I also read A Morbid Taste for Bones by Alice Peters, the first of the Cadfael books, and enjoyed it so much I proceeded to read more of those. And Game Without Rules by Michael Gilbert I also read, and that was fine, pretty good. I haven't read any books from my daunting list. That's all still white, no green, no red either. I think the only difference is one more asterisk, because I did get the ebook of Titus Grown by Mervyn Peake as part of the complete Gormenghast trilogy, which was on sale for 99p on Amazon, so I thought it's worth a risk, even though it is a daunting read. I'll give it a go sometime, but what's 99p in the grand scheme of things? And finally, the non-fiction reads. I have read An Immense World: How Animal Senses Reveal the World Around Us by Ed Yong, which was interesting. I did kind of find that it wasn't quite as enlightening as I hoped it would be. Maybe it's something that maybe I would have enjoyed it more if I kind of picked it up every now and then rather than powering through it. And I also read Shakespeare, The Man Who Pays the Rent by Judi Dench and Brendan O'Hay, which I actually listened to on audio. That was really enjoyable. If you have any interest in Shakespeare, or actually any interest in Judi Dench as an actor, I would recommend that. I don't know whether I would recommend the audiobook more than the book, because the audiobook isn't read by Judi Dench. I think she I think she's unfortunately losing her sight, which meant that she wasn't able to read the audiobook. She does make a few appearances to recite some Shakespeare from memory, but her parts in the audiobook are read by someone else, whose name I can't remember now. And she does a good job. It still felt quite natural. It's kind of done in... that is basically transcribed discussions between Judi Dench and Brendan O'Hay. And listening to the audiobook, it does feel like a fairly natural conversation between the two of them. It's obviously just been tidied up a bit in editing. But yeah, it's worth a listen if you have any interest in either Shakespeare or Judi Dench. So that's how my reading looks for the year so far. How about you? Any particular highlights, lowlights? Let me know in the comments, and maybe we can chat about it, or you can recommend stuff to me, or disrecommend it if you like. Anyway, I hope you're all having a good day, or whatever time of day it is when you're watching this. I don't know, I'm just rambling now. I'm running out of energy. Anyway, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time, whenever that may be.